So hello, everyone. My name is Talya Parker. I am a privacy engineer at Google. I'm also founder of Black Girls in Cyber. Today, I will be walking you through my career journey, right? I think it's important to highlight this because I've actually never officially hold the title of GRC, but the work that I've done have all the GRC components, which will be one of the points that I make later on as you are journeying through the space to identify GRC opportunities. I'll talk through what some of the knowledge and skills are for this space, what your education path and options will be. And then we'll do some like job resume posting, salary talk, and then we'll open it up for Q&A, right? And if there's any questions outside of these things that you guys have, just post it in my hallway and I'll be sure to address those. Okay, so my journey, wow, quite the journey. So a little bit about me. I actually have a bachelor's in business. I attended Florida A&M University, HBCU. And then I did some work post, grad, and I had a peer mentor say to me, hey, have you ever considered privacy? It's kind of new at the time. No one really knows what it is. Now will be a good time to get in. So I actually did some privacy risk management work as an intern with a boutique consulting firm. And that was really what really catapulted everything that followed next, right? So I did like a lot of privacy risk assessments. So that's one component of GRC. I also learned about HIPAA at the time because we would create different training and awareness for our clients. And that was one of the regulations that drive a lot of GRC outputs for most organizations as well. So that was my first introduction to that. And then I went on to work for Deloitte. It's one of the big four consulting and accounting firms, and privacy fell under their cybersecurity umbrella. And so that was really the big start for me because now I had an opportunity to work across industries, to do all types of cybersecurity projects across their portfolios. That was my first time learning NIST, which was really foundational for my security knowledge. So the NIST 853, which is something I'll also bring up later on in the presentation, was really learning about the security domains, the privacy domains. I would have to work with a lot of stakeholders to really understand how they were implementing some of these requirements and being able to write a system security plan, which is also a component of GRC. And then I went on to get my master's in international business. Then I went to work at Nike, where I did some privacy and security work, doing some vendor management, whether it was like risk assessments, doing PIAs and things like that, working very hand in hand with security. Then I went on to get my master's in cybersecurity from Brown University. And then I became a mama. So I am a mom to a 2-year-old. So that is a part of my journey. And then I went on to work as a cybersecurity architect, senior manager at Georgia Technology Research Institute. They are a component of Georgia Tech. And so that was really where I drove a GRC implementation. So I was on a different side of it from the tooling perspective. And also when we talk about the cloud. So that was also my first introduction to the cloud. And I'll share more about that later on as well. And so now I am the founder of this amazing nonprofit organization and also a privacy engineer at Google, who I will be doing some security work soon as well. So that is the journey. So what is GRC? So at a very basic level, you have governance, risk, and compliance. I really wanted to break down what that means in each of the categories. So the governance side of the house, you will have all of the rules, the policies, and the processes. Sometimes GRC is looked at as getting in the way of doing very exciting security or privacy work. But a really good GRC program establishes the foundation for meeting our security, privacy, and compliance objectives, right? It's a very proactive aspect of security. It's the goal is to really minimize reactive incident response, right? And so it will vary across each organization, depending on whether it's small, medium, or large. And even sometimes large, they're not as mature as you would think. But the ultimate goal is for the rules and the policies is being able to create the definitions for how you will carry out the organization goals and objectives. And then with mitigating the risk, the goal is that whenever a possible event that could cause harm to the organization, you want to prevent some of the loss that may take place. And so in some cases, you're either identifying the risk, analyzing the risks, we want to control the risk, or in some cases accept the risk. But the overall goal is in this area is to be able to have a really good idea of your, security posture and how mature you are, so you understand what you need to do from a risk perspective. And the compliance is really making sure you comply with the laws, regulations, standards, and ethical practices. Like I said, that could be both external and internal driven, depending on how your organization is structured. Maybe the external regulations may not cover the way you do business, but that's really what it is in this context. So just to provide a visual. Okay. So this is, I found this image and I thought it would be great to share in terms of why GRC is so important. Whenever you have organizations like this, in most cases, this is the current state, right? They're not very organized. Everyone is working in silos, which is so typical in a lot of ways. You just kind of focus on your area of the business, the systems that you are using, right? And so what you have is a lack of integrity. Sometimes there's poor integration because everyone is using their own applications, their own tools and systems or whatnot. And so it is really a huge disconnect for the organization. Most orgs want to get to the future state of this of a GRC program, and here you'll see it's a little bit more organized, there's more structure. You can have a more integrated GRC strategy that really factors into the org's business objectives. And you are able to understand more closely the different business objectives. So you have legal may have different tools and technologies that they use to achieve their business outcomes. HR, they are collecting different types of data. They're using different types of systems, IT or security, finance, you have audit, compliance, privacy, security. These are like all the different areas of the business that are working, in their own lane, basically, and you want to find a way to kind of integrate all of that. And that's the overall goal for GRC. And the benefits of that is to get real-time visibility and reporting, increase accountability, and in more integrated reporting. So a little bit about the knowledge and skills that will be required for this type of role. And I thought it may be worth breaking it down into each of the categories. So on the governance side, the kind of skills that would be required for these types of role is being able to identify compliance requirements. And that will be like your frameworks like the HIPAA, PCI, the standards, whether it's NIST, ISO, COBIT. These are very important for you to be able to do from a skills perspective. And then what's really important is to be able to conduct program assessments. And so, with program assessments, you'll be able to measure your maturity against some of these framework. You will be able to determine what the future state of the organization should be. You're able to document and prioritize gaps. And what I love about this aspect of GRC is that you are meeting with multiple stakeholders. You are meeting with so many people across the business. And most excitingly, you are learning. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit biased if you are new to security. I do think if you're not super technical, right, if you're not already like on the tech side of things, I do think this is a good path, because within the program assessment piece, you are literally learning your organization. You're learning how they function. You're learning how they're structured. You're understanding what they're doing good, what they're not doing so good. And a lot of the skills that you are probably performing in your current role is probably transferable into this area. So I highly, highly recommend this piece as well. And then you have where you draft and update and publish policies, process guidelines, and procedures. So this is probably the less glamorous of the piece. And honestly, a lot of people immediately think policies when they think GRC. While it's a huge component, it's only one of the many areas. You actually have many options and many roles in which you can work in a GRC capacity. And there are opportunities to become more technical. And I'll also dive a little bit more into that. So on the risk management side, like as I mentioned earlier in my career, conducting risk assessment, drafting risk plans, authorizing the system, incorporating risk information into decision making. These are areas in which I have been able to learn the most, actually. So this is where your NIST 853 or your ISO 2700 will come in, because you are literally documenting system security plan. You are identifying the risk of your systems, or, if you're on like the privacy side, you are identifying the risk for your processes, or the how products, how we collect data, how that data is being used. And there's different types of regs or standards that will be able to drive that. I think this is where a lot of the learning happens. This is what most CISOs, or when you think about the CEO or the board of organizations, they care about this. They want to understand what is the risk to the business, what is the impact, and being able to generate these different kind of outputs and report, I believe is very important and a great skill to have as you think about how you grow on your security journey. And then you have the compliance side of the house, where you are monitoring if we're complying with the policies and standards that we have defined and created. You are also looking at the security controls and measuring how effective they are being, and you're doing regular assessments. You are continuously responding to the different events and changes in risk. So this is where you're going to have a lot of your incident response plan and your business continuities and things like that in place for how you manage breaches and things like that. Okay, and so here I just want to highlight, so you guys, these are just like the more popular ones. So if you have additional questions outside of these, please post it in the chat. Another area that you would want to focus on is your knowledge, like how you can, if you can read up on any of these documentations, these frameworks, the standards, and just really digging deep into what this looks like. I think this would be great knowledge to add to your current skill sets. I hope at this point you're probably doing some self-assessment to understand what your current skills are and how they would be able to transfer over into some of these areas. So education, I am a little bit biased in regards to like what the education path may be, because I didn't necessarily follow any of this. And I add business in there, which you don't typically see, because actually I do think it's important to understand the different business aspects of a degree, that you would bring to an organization. So these are just like suggestions, but they're not like, this is what you need to have. They're like nice to have. They're a very non-traditional path when you think about your security, your certifications, I listed a couple, but honestly, the CompTIA Security Plus is probably the most entry level one. And it's the way that's structured, it covers all of your very foundational security, knowledge that you would need to have coming into this space. The other certifications is when you start to progress, like your PMP, your CISA, the CAP, the CIPT, like these are going to become more advanced, and I'll post links to all of these in the chat when we're finished. But they're not really like the focus for early career transitioners. I would think the CompTIA Security Plus would be the most beneficial. And then for jobs and resume, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'm trying to make it a little bit bigger on my screen. So to the left is an example of what a GRC resume would look like. And if you look at the title of the role, this person has information security and controls analyst, right? Below it has information security program analyst. And so it will really vary. It's not very likely that you'll see a lot of GRC titles. So just be sure that you're doing your due diligence when you are looking for job opportunities, because the titles will vary. That's something that we need to do better with as security organizations, and the way we write our job requisitions and things like that. We can get better at that, but just wanted to point out like what this may look like. And so here, this person have, monitoring in ensuring periodic housekeeping of inactive user IDs, right? That's, anyone can come in and do that at a very entry level, right? Monitoring and ensuring profile requests within the service turnaround, standards established and agreed with, local and regionalized countries. You have down here, perform backup duties, review and verification of all user ID profiles, ensure completeness of tracking on delivered errors. I'm sorry, did I click through that? I'm sorry, something happened with the presentation.
Is this not your deck, Talya?
No, it just jumped for some reason. I don't know where it went. Sorry.
No problem. Emily, is that something you can help Talya with?
Yes, I'm on it. Oh, just give me one moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank everyone for their patience. You're doing such an amazing job, Talya.
Oh, thank you.
Not a problem.
Yes, thank you so much. That was weird. Yeah, and so where was I? So here if we jump to the second category, we have analyze and evaluate the design and operating effectiveness of information technology and security controls. This is very, I think, entry-level stuff. And I think there are a lot of ways that you can transfer over into doing some of these things. Just look at your written and verbal communication, right? In your current role, are you guys writing report? In this day and age, everyone has to do some kind of security or privacy compliance, right? So you're probably already doing some of the work. Just, look for areas where you are currently functioning in some of these capacities and just being able to speak to that from the GRC perspective. Now that you have a better understanding of like the entire overview, the bigger picture from the governance, risk, and the compliance side, you should now be better able to identify the skills that you're currently performing on your job on a day-to-day basis, and how you can convert that over into some of these roles and being able to sell yourself, right? On the right, this is someone that's far more experienced. So at the more senior level, you'll have where they say an information security leader with demonstrated success driving proactive security initiatives in a variety of organizations. And so here they track record of improving risk resiliency through secure architecture design, information risk management, business requirements development, and security policy lifecycle management. So here they're getting a little bit more advanced. They've been doing a little bits and pieces at the entry level, and they've really grown throughout their career. And so from a leadership standpoint, this is what it's going to look like. Also, I think this is a good time to take inventory when, let's say you are a GRC analyst. I think it's exciting, honestly. I'm a people person. Some folks may want to just stay behind the computer all day, but I'm really a people person, although I'm also introverted. But I love sitting and meeting with stakeholders. I get FaceTime with some of the highest levels of folks throughout the business, your VPs, your directors, folks in the C-suite. I've had to generate report because they care about the work that I am doing. And so not only do I have an opportunity to build a relationship with the C-suite, I am also building a relationship with my developers and software engineers. I know everyone in HR, I know someone over there. And so when you think about your growth in your career, it's such a great networking opportunity. It puts you in a position to have influence without the title, right? Because you're the person who knows everyone. You're the person who knows everything about the business. Everyone cares about what it is that you have to say. And so that's why I think GRC is such a phenomenal entry-level opportunity. And when you are able to meet with these different stakeholders and you're learning about the work they're doing, what tools and solutions they're using to mitigate risk, you know, how they're meeting the controls, because at this point you're learning about all of the security domains, all of the privacy domains. And so you become the most knowledgeable and the most expert in the room. And so if, okay, you're like, okay, this GRC stuff was fun, I don't really want to do this anymore. Now you have a very clear idea of what you enjoy, who you enjoy working with, what aspects of the business that you find the most interesting, and then you can go there. So that's just my tidbit about that. And then we have salary. I'm clicking, but it's not going. I don't know if I still have control. Okay, thank you. So this is to give you just a general idea. I just did a quick search on salary. The average salary across the nation for GRC folks is $125. Right? So that's your average. I'm based in Atlanta, so you know that's going to always be a little lower than folks who live on the West Coast. But as you can see, it ranges anywhere from the 40s to 195, almost 200, right? So you can really grow in your career and you really have great earning potential in this space as well. The next slide, I don't know if I can get there, but if you guys can. So key takeaways. So if you don't remember anything else from this entire presentation, I want you guys to remember that you should remain flexible. Look at the duties of the jobs versus the title, because the title will always vary. So do not get sold on the title. Acquire the knowledge around the technology. Another big piece of GRC that you don't really see highlighted a ton are the different tools and solutions. So with different tools, you have ServiceNow, which I'm very in favor of, because ServiceNow has all these different functionalities that will be beneficial to the enterprise. You have RSA Archer, you have SAP. So even if you wanted to specialize in some of these different technologies and just really skill up in that way, you are already a great value add. And I love YouTube University. So you can Google a lot of these on YouTube and just really skill up that way. GRC really covers a lot of security and privacy. I've worked in the capacity of both. So definitely do your due diligence there and just kind of learn about the different frameworks and standards that are out there. Create your home labs, you know, and network. Networking is so important. While I do encourage certifications, especially if you're taking a more non-traditional path, don't get too cert happy, because although they validate what you know, they won't always get you through the door. So make sure you're doing all of these other things that I am suggesting on this list. The most important thing for my early career transitioners is to identify your transferable skills and how they convert over into these key roles. I promise you, you probably have a lot of the skills already that can be beneficial in this space. You just have to sit down, take some time to do some self-assessment, identify those skills, and look at the roles, and then being able to market yourself for those jobs. And again, I highly recommend GRC as a path to entry for cybersecurity if you're not very technical. And that concludes my presentation.